let's hear what
AOC says.
When Aurora and I were first kind of partnered, we really started having a conversation about what it means to be working class women of color at the Met. And we said, we can't just play along, but we need to break the fourth wall and challenge some of the institutions. And while the Met is known for its spectacle, we should have a conversation about it.
Yeah. But why are you at the Met?
That's my critique as well. And Nomi's gonna push back on this. My critique is, don't go.
Hang on. Would you say the same thing about the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Would you say the same thing about the Oscars, for instance?
Yes. In fact, I have.
The White House Correspondents' Dinner is about politics.
I won't go to the White House Correspondents'.
Regardless, it's the same thing. It's, there's always a celebrity chef. There's
exactly. That's why I don't
parties.
Go. I've been invited. I don't go.
Okay, so Matt has pointed out, I have a particular allergy to performative stuff, right? And so this makes me, I recognize my response to this is probably not what everyone may, respond to it with. But I think this doesn't change anybody's mind. All it does is cause a stir. All it does is include her, who's advocating for really important class politics, with the perception of Hollywood and art elites. And all it does is give fodder to people who may already be like, oh, she's probably a hypocrite. Look, she drives a Tesla. Look, she, is a part of the elites that she criticizes. All it does is give them an image that I think validates that just by being there. So my initial thing was, I'm just dreading the takes. But now I just think you have a responsibility as one of the premier and most public left voices in the country to not be in those spaces because it doesn't achieve anything.
So here, I have a couple of thoughts on this. Performative, I completely understand. This is not somebody who is not progressive pretending to be progressive. This is not Nancy Pelosi, taking the knee while she has no problem for most of her career taking money from the worst actors that, have locked up Black and brown communities for the last 30 years, 40 years. This is somebody who practices her politics, has everything from reforms when it comes actual legislation that has to do with how our clothing is made, to minimum wage. All the things that actually affect this industry that is front and center of the Met Gala. She has actually, walked the walk. And so she shows up in this space. It is in my opinion, it's like having an ad for taxing the rich during the Super Bowl. If you are given an opportunity, and no matter what you do, whether you appear at the border with children in cages, whether you go to your own district and tour the flooded neighborhoods, whatever you do, the right wing is going to go after you. So you might as well take it as an opportunity, understanding no matter what, they're going to go after you, and say, maybe I'm going to reach some normies. True story. I have a lot of family members and friends who have been pulled into the left because of AOC, because of these kinds of things, because they read Chrissy Teigen's tweets. And there is power to that. It's why Bernie Sanders goes on The View. He doesn't like it, but it's the highest rated show.
But that's a cable show that's talking about news, and you're getting your message out there, as opposed to going to a gala with Kris Jenner. There's a difference.
But she wasn't with Kris Jenner. That's like saying, you could say about anything. You go on CNN, you could go all of these places. Of course, celebrities go on The View.
Here's the difference. The View, it's not television for me, and people watch it and this and that. But The View is that Met Gala is, in my mind. It is a representation and quite literally a function of the massive wealth disparity that we have in this country. You cannot have galas like that unless you have people who have so much money that they don't know what to do with it, and they're trying to figure out how I'm going to get a tax break.
Wait, Sam, this is not a gala for rich people. I'm sorry. I'm not defending like the gala itself. Let me make that very clear. But I think we're getting confused. This is a gala where there are artists, well-known, very rich artists, who are given tickets to wear designer dresses. It's not like, oh, I'm Jeff Bezos, I can buy a ticket for $30,000, as far as I understand. I think a lot of misinformation has been put out there.
But who gets those tickets?
Wait, who's paying for this?
Who gets the tickets? It's wealthy people.
Who's paying for this?
You know, like
this is not.
I understand. I'm not humanitarian. Whatever the foundation crap. That whole ecosystem is. That's the problem. I think we're confusing so many different things here. We're confusing art and designers and funding our art institutions and having an opportunity to stand before like a world audience.
What it is. I'm relying on you guys to tell me what it is.
And
I don't know anything about
billionaires who want tax breaks. And that's, I think,
people aren't going to know what it is, though. They'll know from Instagram because, Justin Bieber was there and AOC was there. And I think that
Nicki Minaj wasn't because of her cousin's friend.
Right. And then that brings me to COVID. These rich person parties. And like, I was like, oh, I don't care about this Obama thing. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about the Met Gala because like, I know that giving oxygen to it just helps the right, which AOC should have known, I think. But like these rich person parties in the middle of COVID, like, fine, if you want to do that, don't advertise it. And like, I don't want her to be a part of that space because I know she's authentic and I know that she believes these things.
I agree too.
And it comes off as performative and like, why is she in that space? She's not a part of that crowd.
I actually think the performative part would be to not go, and I think that's fine, because I mean that's my point. Is that yes, I think she's an incredibly important politician. I don't think this is a reflection of her having, a secret agenda or being, a desire for celebrity. She was, and yes, I know Carolyn Maloney was there. I want her to be a different
She's not
type
Carolyn
of figure
Maloney.
than Carolyn Maloney, and going there makes it look like, and it's all performative. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is just the whole thing is performative. Going, not going is performative. It is a question of like, how do you want to project your image as a politician? And I just think that in this context, particularly at a time where like, and context is king here. Like we're in the middle of this reconciliation fight. We're in the middle of this big question as to whether we're going to raise taxes on wealthy people. I understand it's a fundraiser and the benefit goes to the Met costume design thing, but the money's coming from somewhere and it ain't coming from working class people. It is coming from people who have an extraordinary amount of wealth and looking for tax breaks. Do I think we should eliminate the Met Gala? No. I'm just saying that where she is situated in our politics, it does not behoove her. I see no indication that this is going to make her more popular or more powerful.
So that is under the assumption that she wants, her agenda is what you're seeing her agenda as. Is her agenda to potentially run for higher office? Is her agenda to raise class consciousness about taxing the rich to people who are just, most people don't even, who are watching this aren't even aware of it? Is her agenda to, I don't know, does she want to rise up to higher? I mean, her district is, I don't think this is going to move anybody in her district to go against her, and she's not going to lose her reelection. So I think the question is, every move a politician makes usually is performative, and it has an agenda.
No, I'm saying it's a poor performance choice. I agree with you. Everything a politician does is performative. I'm saying it's a poor performative choice. Where does AOC's power come from?
Literally her district.
Just her district? Or does it come from, I mean, she's one of the biggest fundraisers?
Without a doubt. But the reality is that the district is the most progressive district in the entire country. So money or no money, I'm going to guess she'd get reelected.
Well, no, she's going to get reelected. But where does her power come from? What was the value of her going in and occupying Pelosi's office? It created some friction with Pelosi. But what was the power of that? The power of that was that she speaks for a much larger cohort of people outside of her district, and they have supported her with money. How do you maintain that power base?
No,
You dilute it by going there. I'll tell you something, like, this is what my daughter, unsolicited, texts me. And Mila's not, Mila's not that savvy. She's not some savant when it comes to like politics. I don't want it to make. No, I'm just saying that, like, she just wrote.
How old is she? She's 16, right?
She's 16, right?
She's not a savant. What kind of parent are you?
But I'm saying, like, some people think like your kids must be, reading FDR biographies and studying the Social Security trust funds. No, they're not. Reports. Okay. She does not generally offer me unsolicited comments on politicians. She sent me a text. AOC wearing a tax the rich dress in a $30,000 dress. It's not a $30,000 dress, but we're talking about how does this message filter out, right? And she just looks and sends me the
thinking. I got the same kind of text from friends who are not very political, moderate friends who kind of like AOC, maybe. Didn't like it. Like, I think it's off-putting for a politician who's constantly talking about democratic socialism. Like, Bernie's not going to be showing up in an eat the rich bib, right? It's like, it's just not going to.
I mean, yeah.
Bernie showed up at a Liberty University event. I mean, with all due,
but going to Liberty University event is not contrary to, like, going.
It's fun. If he went to Heritage Foundation, if they invited him, which, I wouldn't think that he would say no to that. If he had an opportunity to speak before.
But he goes to Liberty University. He is there to present a perspective that is fundamentally undercutting the premise of that. Going there with a dress that says "Eat the Rich" does not do that.
Tax the rich.
Tax the rich.
I wish it
Eat the Rich wouldn't.
What if there was like blood?
Basically, it's reinforcing. It's reinforcing the event. It was a bad choice, performatively speaking. I got 2 texts. Someone else, another friend of mine, wrote the same thing. You see that F up? And these are not political people per se. It's just like, of course, it was going to turn.
Was it who she was? Okay, so again, back to a politician's mind. We are not going to lose. We're going to support AOC no matter what, right? It's not about us. And it's frankly not about your daughter. It's about winning over people that she would never, ever, or opening up a conversation. Did you see the Google? Hang on, did you see the Google searches of tax the rich afterwards?
No, they want to make fun of her. They want to talk about this. It's like,
how do you know? No, that's the right wing. So if you really get into the analytics,
it's not.
I truly disagree. I think that she's a very smart team, especially when it comes to data, by the way, especially when it comes to data, to understand what the audience is going in, who it is that they're going to be starting this conversation with, and broadening their, it could be fundraising. I don't know what her agenda is. It might be fundraising. It might be, bringing in more normie women who watch these types of things on social media all the time. Whatever it is, it might be registering them to vote. I don't know, but I think it is something is outside of our conversation, knowing very well that no matter what, we are going to be there and support her.
Well, no matter what. I mean, say she's like, oh, I'm in favor of austerity. We're not going to.
Well,
Yeah. I know. And
here's another experiment. Say, and I tweeted this out, in a flippant way, but say she showed up in a dress that had Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema on it with their office numbers saying "end the filibuster." Would it still have been performative?
I don't think you should occupy that space.
I mean, if she was to do something like that was really going to piss somebody off.
Yeah, maybe. I'd like it a little better.
I think there's something to that. I mean,
what if she said Social Security is not bankrupt?
I mean, I just think that
right over.
I just don't think, if you're going to do that, you got to go hard. Like I say, like, I don't go to the correspondence dinner, but I think that what Stephen Colbert did was awesome because he made everybody there bummed that he was there. Mm-hmm. And that I'm in favor of.
Fun fact, he actually went to the Met Gala last night. Did not do that.
Well, yeah, I'm not lionizing Stephen Colbert. I am saying in terms of going to a place that you think is problematic or going into a space, and I'm sorry, like she may not think that fundraiser is problematic, but I do think that there is the values associated with that are just inconsistent with trying to say that we need to deal with things like wealth disparity in this country. And I do think that there should be a modicum of embarrassment, frankly, as people go to an event like that. Personally,
see, I think fundamentally this. Go ahead.
No, I see your point, Nomi, and I want to say this, right? Like it's. I believe AOC was trying to make a statement there. I believe her intentions were pure.
I agree too.
I know her. I mean, I know that she's a good person. She's trying to do her best. But I think that it's easy when you are in the like level of fame that she's at to not say yes to those kinds of things and then maybe lose the forest through the trees, because I'm sure, it's a little bit, you're flattered in a way, and then you try to do something that makes a statement. And I think a better perspective, a more zoomed out view, somebody should have told her that maybe it wasn't the best thing to do. And
that's a really good point, because I think the lesson here is also a lot of these folks will have institutional players kind of advising them that are not the most radical people in the world. Usually, even if they are on the left, they may have come up in the 2000s, but they're part of these institutions because they know how things run. And I mean, I know this because some of her staff is people that were around 15 years ago and may not have like the radicalism at their. And so when you're around those folks, because you don't have a choice, you need to have experienced folks running your office and knowing where the light switches are in Congress, but aren't like the enemies. Maybe there's a little bit of that filtering happening, but simultaneously, just one more point. I think there's basically two things here. Is this about the event, or is this about the press opportunity? And I think from my perspective, and I'm not thrilled, let me make it very clear, I'm not thrilled about this decision on her end. I'm just trying to look at it from the perspective of, was this a win, even if it was like a minor win? Or was this a complete loss? And I think the amount of press that came out of it, good press, people she reached, was bigger than the negative press she gets no matter what she does, including getting in the car and going to work in the morning. That's just my take.
That had been dying down a little, though.
Well, I don't know. I'm not so worried about that aspect of like this gives her critics opportunities. I don't think it's a big win, and I don't think that there's an upside to it. But it's not. I mean, we've spent more time probably talking about it than it certainly is.
One more little point. Is there a place of privilege in that? I mean, we've heard this before in different scenarios. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just putting this question out there. Is there a place of privilege in saying she should just say no to these things? I know she's the most popular politician in the world, but she gave an opportunity to a designer. I mean, granted, the designer would have had somebody there, but it was AOC, and now this designer is no doubt going to blow up.
I don't care about this designer at all.
I feel like her agenda should be bigger than helping a designer.
Well, I'm not just saying a designer. I'm just saying, like, is there a place of privilege in that some people on the left can say she should say no to everything when most people don't have those opportunities to talk about these things, even activists, even politicians, even organizers. I mean, Tax the Rich there's a coalition of organizations out there that's literally their hashtag. It's not something that's just been, it is something, there's an agenda, there's a website, there's a whole bunch behind that. And I'm going to guess that they probably raised a little bit of money yesterday and today as a result. So is there something in that, Sam, you could say no to, I mean, listen, there's plenty of opportunities that you would say no to that I would say, I would absolutely love to talk about XYZ on this thing because they don't present themselves. And I think
listen, I have no problem with her going on Fox and saying tax the rich. I just think that when you go to a gala that is, a product of ultimately of like a wealth disparity, I just think that it's problematic.
I just think it's ironic that AOC literally tweeted out the medium is the message, and it's like, yeah, you're at a gala.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah,
the
you're right.
point. I mean, that's the point is that, like, you know, there's the show me and there's the tell me. The tell me here is tax
And the
the
know
rich.
me.
But the know me. The show me is, the tell me is tax the rich. The show me is I'm going to a gala. You know, like, and I think the show me resonates more than the tell me.
But incidentally, I'm wearing jeans from Express, so.
Oh my God! Wait, didn't
But
Express go
I don't.
business?
That doesn't.
That's even more.
Impressed for
my
that designer.
assessment of this
$10
is completely.
dress.
My
Walk on the
assessment of this is completely just sort of like I just don't think it's effective politics. That's all. I mean, I just think that, you know, maybe at a different era, maybe at a different time,
Yeah.
maybe during a different time, but I don't think it's effective politics.
I think this
it
also
does
kind of
her a
hits
disservice.
it hits an undercurrent that's happening in the left right now, and this might be where I think some of the outrage is just obviously like it's against class politics, but then some of it is also I've seen this like policing. We've all seen it on the internet. Like, oh my God, you're like having dinner with wine. Like, how dare you? Or you're on a vacation. You're taking a day off. Like, there's a lot of that kind of policing happening on the left.
Yeah, this is not.
Which is what we're all trying to work towards. But there's like a weird overlap in that kind of.
This is not
messaging.
This is not that. That's all I'm saying is like this.
Maybe
is
I wasn't
not
lying
that.
too much.
I mean, she deserves a vacation. I'm happy. I think she should get paid more money. I think all of the Congress people should get paid more money, frankly. But I just don't. I just think that like you got to make an assessment. You know, what do I represent in the body politic, and is this a smart place for me to go and and be seen, and. You know, does it mean that there are certain things that she can't avail herself that Carolyn Maloney can't avail herself to? Yeah, I would hope.
Well, you know, we're just saying this because she won't come on the fucking show.
That's not true. She came on the show.
I know.
Now she
Well,
I don't know. I don't think. I mean, like, look. I just think it's just not a smart thing, and we've spent more time on it than it really does deserve.
Yeah.
When we should have been spending this time on
Michael Tracy.
On Michael Tracy.
Now tell me, would Michael Tracy have gone to the Met Gala? You know it. You've been dressed as like a troll or something.
I saw his Met Gala outfit.
It's always snowy in Ottawa. I'm watching on delay, but I can see the love chat is going off on Gigi's Jimmy Sore being upset that AOC went to the Met Gala and dared take part in a performative elite society. You've all talked about Gates, philanthropy, and the issue of elite-driven assistance. So there are legitimate critiques of these events and those who take part in them. However, those bozos' critiques are not based on rational ideology. Gigi is salty, and those same celebrities that are running elbows with AOC didn't accept him after breaking the Snowden story.
Yeah, I mean, my critique personally doesn't come from Gigi.
Yeah,
Yes.
just because there's like some slight overlap doesn't mean that, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, it's idiocy.
That
I agree.
should back away from it.
In his mind, all the media people that denied him his validation, Maddow and the female hosts of MSNBC, are most at fault. Jimmy Pay Me to literally live tweet. Dorr is a failed jagoff who's been intimidated by the actually talented people he worked with at TYT, and Anna Emma and Nomiki are the most prominent ones in his orbit that he can lash out at for daring to take their work seriously and being better at it than him. Also, y'all way funnier than he is, kills him. These attacks are based in misogyny, and no matter how pure AOC, the squad, or any woman on the left actually is, they have determined they have a grievance against them, they will find anything to attack them on. Majority Report wardrobe coordinator. In regards to AOC at the Met, what do you think about Rutger Bregman going to Davos? I think I remember you guys applauding that, and I agree. Look, you go to Davos and you're actually carrying a message that offends them. If you go to Davos and you don't get invited back, right? Like, then I think it works. But also, Rutger Bregman is not a person that anybody knew who he was until he went to Davos and became a fly in the ointment. This is not the same thing. I'm not making some broad principle about this. I'm not saying that there's no event that AOC should go to.
And that's why we're like, I mean, I think we're at least, we can understand her thinking, even if we don't agree with it. I mean,
I also
I'm not
think that like
for you.
you could have had a more like you could have gone right at Mansion and Cinema and pissed people off more. I mean, I'm just saying that this combination of this stuff, I just think was not effective.
You know, it's interesting because aside from the event itself, on the show, we've talked about, this hasn't happened in a while, but we talked about tax the rich being imperfect and that it's not fundamentally as detailed as an outline, even in New York State. And it kind of pulls away from some other stuff that could be just as destructive to the wealth of certain, because for instance, like Andrew Cuomo, a clock can strike, whatever that stupid line is. He would say that a lot of the rich will pull out of New York State, which studies do say that's true. Well, there's other ways you can tax them and they'll stay in New York State. And so there's there's been a lot of conversation about it being a little bit imperfect and a great hashtag, but not necessarily, the best or the smartest path to bringing in wealth into New York in particular. I'm talking about New York State in particular, and making sure that the revenue goes to places like the subway and like to education. And that's, there's a school of thought that says real estate is the way to do so. But of course, Democrats in New York are really afraid of taking on real estate. So, there's other ways of looking at this too.
Why is it problematic that AOC went to a rich event? To what degree is one enjoying wealth culture too much, in your opinion? I will say, though, that the conversation about elites coming from the leftists attacking AOC is no different from how Alex Jones uses the term.
She can go on all the fancy vacations she wants. She has money now.
I just think that she shouldn't.
Advocating for the right things.
I think just being. I actually.
This was a public performance.
Exactly.
Like, that's the point. You
got to be aware that you're a public figure, and what you do in public has different implications than what you do in private. I'm not saying that you should be, a monk. I'm just saying that there are certain events that just don't look, the look is bad. That's all.
Do it the right way. Do it like Pete Buttigieg did, in a cellar, crystal chandeliers. But this is the trick. Take their cell phones at the door so no one tweets the pictures.
Yes, that's very,
very honestly,
very sit in a wine cellar.
CNN privilege is definitely don't go to the Met Gala. Chumologist. I heard that it was originally a yard stand accessory to the AOC dress akin to Flava Flav clock, but that was too much. Funky Town. If people don't have to commodify ourselves through labor, the arts would be funded. I know I'd be able to do more prolific with my art if I didn't have to justify my existence by making a profit for capitalists. Indeed. Militant apathy. So AOC needs to walk around in a sackcloth and ashes? I don't think that's what we're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Sam, you're an outlier. There's nothing wrong with AOC going. She's probably catching more hell from liberals than cons. She's a young woman. She's nice. She works hard. Her politics is good. Liberal can be such a dour, smug Debbie Downer. It's for artists, dude. I'm sorry. There are limitations as to what you can do if you're going to be an effective politician. There's just no doubt about that. And
she can go to Maui, do whatever she wants, vacation. She deserves it. But you don't need to do that. This was performance art. She wasn't going for a good time. She was doing it to make a statement.
There are and certainly in 2009, I tweeted out stuff that I probably wouldn't tweet today necessarily. But even then, there's always been stuff that I don't tweet, jokes that I would tweet if I was just a comedian and didn't feel like I had any investment in people perceiving me in a certain way, and tuning into the show and, guests coming on and not having to saddle them with certain things. We all make our decisions about what we want to do in our public life. If you're in public life in any way, I'm not saying that I'm not comparing myself in terms of public life to AOC, but it's even more extreme for her. The dynamics is the same. There are implications. And they're not, nobody is imposing them except for me on myself.
Do we put those standards though on everybody? I mean, she obviously is so famous and so important in our movement, but I feel at times we don't necessarily put the same standards towards people like even Bernie. I mean, he can do, no, but I'm not saying he would do something like this, but there have definitely been things where I'm like, Bernie, I shouldn't have done that. But there's a strategy there.
I might agree with you on those things. And this is more like that impetus that you said, you articulated that. I mean, we can disagree as to the analysis, but that's what it is. I'm not singling her out because she's young or a woman or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. I mean, it has to do with, this to me is like, it's not as egregious, but it's like when John Kerry went windsurfing in August of 2004. Are you effing kidding me? Dude, go windsurfing all you want in 6 months. Or when Ned Lamont went on vacation, in Connecticut when he didn't go. Believe me, I have a long list of these things that I think are F-ups.
Obama with Richard Branson.
I think that party. I think that party that Obama did is
disgusting.
Disgusting. I happen to think, actually, my criticism of Obama is even more substantive. I think this is just a mistake.
Yes, this is a well-intentioned, I think, for the most part, but like a bit of a blind spot mistake. Yeah, again, we're not. This is not Jimmy Dore. We're not coming down on her.
I think it just goes back to the point. What was her intent? That's my question: is what was her strategy? What was her intention? Was it to win over a new audience that she may have achieved? If she did it and she got all this slack that she was going to get no matter what, maybe it was worth it.
I think probably there's also, I think also part of it. I mean, we got someone right. Aaron's not cool. You all are taking this way too serious. The Met Gala is intended to be performative. Look at the past events. If she showed up in an OD Gucci costume, or even look like what Lewis Hamilton wore, they'd roast her for being there.
Don't show up.
No, that's my point. She shouldn't have gone. But I also think it's like maybe they don't understand, like, that people don't have the savvy. Maybe there's an understanding of the Met Gala that they have that your average person does not have.
I've lived here for 10 years and I originally thought Nicki Minaj was talking about, I guess I just won't go to the Met and look at the exhibits. I forgot all about the gala. So people say Met and they assume that everyone knows the Met Gala.
Nobody knows.
And people just don't know about it, even if they live here for 10 years like I did.
I have to agree. I have to disagree. People don't know about it in the male-dominated YouTube universe. People know about it that read us weekly, that watch The View, and frankly, that audience is a little bit bigger than our little audience, in comparison.
You're right that women know. I mean, I'm horrible at fashion, and I know what the Met Gala is, and I pay attention to what people wear. So, yeah.
I was on a train today, and to the left of me on the train was a 75-year-old woman speaking Italian, looking at photos from the Met Gala today. So,
you a Democrat?
I mean, I don't know if she could vote or not. Should I ask? I'll go back.
Yeah, go back in time.
Stellar vision. I know Met Gala is kind of bougie, but it would be a great thing for the left to lean into art and fashion. I'm not against art and fashion. That's the thing, is like, I don't, and maybe I am in the minority of this, but I don't know it as anything other than a gala with wealthy people and somebody there with a microphone that says Vogue. How that codes to other people, I don't know. I mean,
we're way over.
Yeah. Meaty hooks.
I have more points, guys.
Yeah, Sam Seder, the guy sponsored by Nike. Glenn Greenwald writes tweets, the way I wrote college papers, word count requirement.
Yeah. Adjective.
All right, 10 more of these and then we'll get out of here. Till. Come on, everybody. Y'all are on down with social lightism. The Tim Caucus. I think I agree with Nomi. AOC causes a stir. My normie friends bring it up to me. We talk about tax stuff because it's in the conversation. I have an opening to sow some seeds. We need to do a full-on study of this to get to resolve this. Eric from San Diego, if you're going to moan about performative politics, I got news about all politics that you're not going to like. Trench warfare. Be real, Sam. The only reason you're talking about the Met Gala is because you saw the word gala and thought it was a story about apples. Performative or not, AOC has done a lot in her position in Congress. Actually goes out to bat for regular people, lower middle class, regardless if someone gifted her a ticket. She's earned her right to do what she did. If she didn't actually do her job, then I would criticize her act as performative.
I don't like that way of speaking. Like, she earned her right. Like she...
It's not a question whether she deserves it or not.
She go to a fancy dinner. I don't care. Like, that's the thing. It's like Bernie can have 3 houses. I don't like that. If you're fighting for the right things, that's fine.
But this is like when it's like Hillary has the right to speak her mind after she lost in 2016. It's like, yeah, she has the right to do it, but is it wise?
Right.
Oh my God, please. One thing is 100% true. The AOC Met Gala thing doesn't need this much airtime. For the love of God, move on.
We spent the entire fun half on Michael Tracy.
I love it.
The dress.
Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.